I think it's valuable to do the extra credit question because it gives you an idea of how the grades are done in class. Because a lot of people think it's magic, or I like you, or I don't like you, or you don't understand how you can get an A in so many things and still get a C in the class, or how is it I got 90% on all this stuff and I still got an F? How did that happen? So it was not an accident. It's pretty much predetermined. So the question is, in the question, Emily got 90. Emily is a fictitious student. Got 90% of her coursework points, and and I would be writing it down as an example how your grades are done. 70% of her assessments and she got 50% of her notebook points. I'm just going to put NB. And she got 100% on her projects of her project points. Now, those were her categories, right? So this is, anytime you're given a word problem, they want to know what grade did she end up with and to show your work. Anytime you're given a word problem, one of the first things you want to do is write down what you know. What is it you know? And now, what you know can be divided into two things. What they give you in the problem. So this is what's given. They give you these things that I just wrote down. But then there's some stuff that you know that's not given. So when I see this, what I know is that 90% is the same as writing 0.90. All I got to do is move the decimal twice to the left. I know I can do that. I know that when I see the word of in a word problem, that means multiply. So if I see the word of, that means multiply. So those two things I know. I also know that coursework is what percentage of the grade? What is that? No, that's how much she got. How much is coursework worth in this class? Work, that's right. It's equal to 25%. And how much is our assessments worth? And how much are her notebooks worth? 25%. 25% is correct. And her projects? 20%. So I know these are things you know these things. They were not given to you in the problem. This you should have known from studying from the syllabus. And that's how I tested this. This you should know from your previous math classes. If you don't, you know it now. Both these things. All right, so that's what we know. The next thing you have to ask yourself is, what is the question? What are they asking me? And by the way, over here, I'm going to write how to find a grade. Yeah, give me a second. Let me erase this and write it neater. How to calculate your grade. And then how to use percentages. All right. All right. Zoom in here, you want?
Yeah.
So asking me, what are they asking me? They're asking me what? What grade did she get? That was the question. So now I know I got everything I need to solve this problem as long as I have some basic math skills. So, and I mean fundamental, not easy. So let's go ahead and calculate it. So if what I like to do, something else that helps me solve problems is I like to visualize what's going on. And so I'll draw this, not necessary for the problem, but that's the pie, that's the whole. And I know that 25% is going to be coursework. So I know it's about a quarter of it. Doesn't have to be perfect. For some reason, it's not updating on the screen. There it is. So about a quarter of it's is coursework. I know about a little more than a quarter is assessments. All right. And I know the notebook is about 25%. Yes, this is not perfect. In fact, it looks horrible, but assume that I'm doing it right here. And then the last section is the projects, and those projects are 20%. So here's 20% of the what's going on? So of the classwork, this young lady got 90%. So I can go ahead and just kind of, like I said, I like to visualize it. Some of you might think this is a waste of time, but I personally think it's valuable to visualize what you're doing. So coursework's about 90%. She had about 90%, which means she missed this 10%. She missed that. So I put it in red just so I can view it in my head, what's going on. In assessments, she got about 70%. So half is about that, maybe a little more than that. So she got all that here. But she missed all this. She missed a nice big wedge of it. Now, projects, she had 100% of that, so that's nice. She got that whole wedge, no problem. But notebook, she had only 50% of. She only got 50% of that wedge. So somebody in class, when we went over it previously, some people thought that she had an A+. Well, that would seem like it would be impossible, right? Because look at all this red. To think that just without even doing math, without doing any math, just by drawing it, I'm pretty sure she doesn't have an A+. And I'm pretty sure she did better than an F. Right? So I know it's not an F, I know it's not an A, I know it's not an A, I know it's not an F. So it's somewhere between B, C, or D, somewhere in there. I already helped myself out without doing math, before I even did math. Just by drawing it out. You should be writing all this down instead of just kind of sitting there with your head in your hand. So let's go ahead and do the calculations. So she had 90% of her coursework. Her coursework was 25%. How would I write that? I would put 0.9, because that's 90%. 0.90 times 0.25, and that's going to give me some number. Then I'm going to take 0.7, 70% of her assessments, so of means multiply, and that's times 30%. That's going to give me some number. And then I'm going to take 50% of, there's that multiply again. I'm going to put a little line through the 0, so you know it's a 0. I put a line through the 7, so you know it's a 7, not a 1. So 50% on a notebook, which was 25%, so 0.5 times 0.25. And that's going to give me something. And then 100%, again, what am I doing to get the decimal? I want to go over this with you to make sure the decimal would be here. I'm moving it twice to the left to make it a decimal. I'm getting rid of the percentage sign and moving it twice to the left, just so you know. If I was going the opposite way and I want to make a decimal into a percentage, I'd move it twice to the right. Is that understood? And we can go over the math if you want during office hours if you're confused about why that happens, but that's how you do it. So then the last is her projects. So she had 100% of her projects, so that means she had a 1.00 times her projects, which would be 0.20. So now, if we go ahead and do this math and just do some multiplication with a calculator. By the way, there's calculators over there always for you, or should be. If we use the calculator, we'd see 0.9, and then I put the times sign 0.25. That would equal 0.225, which is 22.5%. So just as an aside, please note that 0.225, which is what I would get in a calculator, equals 22.5%. Okay? All I did was move the decimal twice to the right and put a percentage sign behind it. That's all. 0.3 then times 0.7 is 0.21 or 21%. Then 0.5 times 0.25 is 0.125 or 12.5%. And then lastly, 1 times 0.2 is 0.2 or 20%. So this is 10. 5 plus 5 is 10. So move a 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 6. Then 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 76%. Excellent. I'm glad you knew it. So 76% is her grade, her percentage of her grade. And you'll see, honestly, if you looked at this, you could probably guess it was a C just by doing the picture, because it looks like it's more than 50%. Looks like more than 60. Maybe it could have been 80, right? Because it's pretty close to 80 actually. So what grade is that? 76%. It's a C. Just so you know, in this school, an A is equal to anything that's 90% or above. In this school, a B is anything between 80 and 90% between. Obviously, as soon as you get to 90, you have your A. A C is anything between 70 and 80%. Again, when you get to 80, when you get to 80, it'll be a B. And a D is anything between 60 and 70%. And finally, an F is below 60%. There is no rounding in this class. So if you get 89.999, that's a B. So you want to get every point you can and make sure you get every extra credit point you can. Because every extra credit point could put you just that edge over. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay, so that's how your grades are going to be calculated. I'm not going to do all that when I do your grades, though, obviously, because there's a lot of kids. All I'm going to do is have the computer do all this for me. I'll put your grades in, and the computer will do this math, and it'll pop out a grade, and that's it. Are we all good? We're all feeling comfortable with what to expect? You're not feeling comfortable? What are you confused about? You okay? All right. It's okay if you're not comfortable. It's all right if you have a question. Yeah, what part, dear? Oh, this like this? I should put I like to put my lines through my zeros so that in computer language we would put lines through zeros to make sure you can tell the difference between 0 and O. And then the 7 is a European 7. It's just meant to let you tell the difference between a 7 and a 1, right? Because some people put 1s that look like this, and some people put 7s look like that. Sometimes they can look alike. So just simply by putting a little line through it, you can solve some issues. All right, are we good? May I go on? Any questions, any concerns? Anything you're kind of stressed about? I'm concerned I don't see binders. I see some people with spiral notebooks. Have I been clear that you have to have binders? Have I been clear? Is that a problem for you? Do you need a binder? Do you not have a binder? Do you not have a binder? Okay. You don't have it out. That's what I'm asking. You guys have spiral notebooks. Where is it? In your book bag. Why don't you pull it out of your book bag? You should have your binder out. Why are you resisting? Like, why are you not sitting forward and having a notebook out? Like, I look around the room, about 90% of the people are doing the right thing. They got their binders out, they're writing, they're taking notes, they got a pencil in their hand, they're facing forward. The screen's up here, you're turned sideways. Why? Help me understand. Say what? All right, so let me rephrase this so I can be clear. Pull your binder out and sit facing forward. Okay. So you're going to need to get a binder. Okay, so you got to get a binder. Okay, all right, that's fair. That's fair. Still the first week. So I'd like to see loose leaf paper. I'd like to see a binder. I will be collecting them. You will. I'm going to emphasize. I'm going to keep emphasizing this until I see 100% of the people with their binders, and we're going to make sure that we're doing Cornell notes. All right, and that's just not writing what's on the board. It's also following through and doing writing down whatever might be said as well. Okay. So the next step, what I'd like to do is I'd like to split you up into small groups. I'd like to give you some poster paper and some markers, and I'd like you to design a norm chart. Now you see over there's some examples from the other classes. They created norms. You can choose, you can go look at once we start. They're on the wall right here. So you can create your own norms, the stuff that we've talked about. But before I set you off to go create them, why don't we talk about what some of those norms are? There's some non-negotiables. Some norms came directly from me. Some came directly from the school, and some we agreed upon or we said we'd negotiate later. So one norm is how we sit in class. We should be facing forward, right? That's my personal norm. I like to see kids facing forward. I don't want your attention distracted. I don't want you distracting anyone else. I'd like to see you facing forward. If the attention should be here, we should be facing forward. Wherever the attention is, that's what we should be facing. Another norm that's not mine, but is still non-negotiable is dress code. We asked why, because there's a dress code. It's a loose dress code, more like a dress policy, because we used to have a dress code where all the young men had to wear ties and a blue shirt. All the young ladies had to wear a certain set of dress code. I forgot even what they were. But we don't do that anymore. So we have kind of a dress code. We have more of a policy, right? And you know what that is, correct? So that's something we're going to be enforcing because the school says it's non-negotiable. if you're out of dress code, I'm not going to do nothing. I'm just going to say go to the office, and then they'll figure it out. Maybe they say it is dress code. I don't know. But I'm going to have it. I'm going by what they gave me a list of. What my boss, Ms. Perez, gave me a list of. Correct? All right, so that's non-negotiable. I can't do anything about that. Another norm that we said we cannot do is I cannot send you out of here more than one at a time. So I'm not going to do that because that's against the rules. But one norm that we have is that I made a pass for you so you can go in the halls. Here's your hall pass. Looks like this. It's sitting right here. For you to go in the hall to go to the bathroom or get something out of your locker, whatever you're going to do, you have to sign this out. You have to put your name, the period, the time when you left, and the time when you brought the pass back. If the pass is missing and you have not signed it back in, I'm asking you where it went. Is that clear? So make sure you're signing it back in, a time. All right, I don't want any mistakes with that. Now, some of the things we negotiated was consequences. We said seating charts. We said seating. We're going to have a seating chart, and I'm going to let you guys choose, for the most part, where you want to sit. Because I feel like you guys are old enough where you can figure that out, unless you've given me evidence that you cannot sit there, which I'm cool with that. Like I have a whole class where I have to move kids around on Monday. I have to move a whole bunch of them around, and I'm going to do that. In this class, I got maybe 1 or 2 kids that can't sit next to each other because you're distracted, which is okay. But 90+% of you I've shown that you can sit wherever you need to sit, and you're fine. Does that make sense? Well, how do I know that? You've given me that evidence, right? This whole week, I've been watching you. I've seen what you've done and what you haven't done. Eating. In this classroom, if it's not a lab, our norm is we can eat, right? But what's going to change that norm? If you're leaving messes. Like you can make a mess. I had a kid spill something the other day. That's fine. Clean it up. And if you run out of time, I'll even help you. I'll clean it up. I got mops and rags and all that. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to let you eat if I'm not going to clean it up. But I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to deal with the abuse. I used to buy food, apples and oranges and nut bars and hot cocoa, and I'd stock it up once a week. But kids abused it, and I just can't. It's ridiculous for me to spend $100 a week and then have to clean up after it as well, right? So that's not acceptable. But I'll still bring some coffee. I'm going to buy some coffee this weekend and some tea. There's a bunch of tea there and honey. I'll still do that because that's relatively easy to do. So that doesn't bother me so much. Office passes. If you have to call a parent, they can call the office, right? We talked about that. It's another norm. Mr. Mendoza speaking. May I help you? Yes, ma'am. Aldo Cifuentes. I don't think he's in this class. This is 6th period. All right, bud. We're going to get 6th period, 7th period is going to get these phone calls. And there might be, you might need to go to the office because mom might have dropped off lunch, or mom might be here to pick you up. Dad might be here to pick you up. I'm going to have an office pass for you. Looks like this. And all you're going to do is fill it out, cut it or rip it. The bottom part stays here. You take the top part, go to the office. Come back or not, whatever the rule is. But if I don't have this filled out, you're in trouble. I need to know where you are. If the office calls you for something, and then later your mom's like, "Where's my son?" I'm not answering them. I don't know. I need to know where you are so I can tell your folks if they're looking for you. So you have to fill this out. This is all about making sure we all know where everyone is. And you might think, what's the big deal? Bad things happen. Last year during the AP test, there was a shooting outside on Carnegie. We went in lockdown. A bunch of us were by the window. We heard brrr, 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 brrr. I thought it was the vent system rattling.
Oh.
Mr. Pennypacker thought there was something going on next door. Miss Simpson was just looking out the window like, what's going on? And there was shooting going outside the window. You know, your parents are going to call and say, is my baby okay? You know, we need to know where everybody is. Does that make sense? So that's all I need to know. It's not I'm trying to control you. I just need to know where you are. Yeah. By the way, no one was hurt. The sign got hit by a stray bullet, and the building got hit. No, they didn't come into the building at all. Somebody got mad at somebody else in the street, and they did a drive-by on a parked car. It was stupid and ridiculous. I hope they went to jail. Yeah, yes, you may. So what are you going to do to go to the restroom? Let's go ahead and practice the norm. What are we going to do? She asked, that's good. Then what are you going to do? So you take the pass, and what are you going to do before you take the pass? Look on the table. Right there. Look where I just pointed out by my cup.
Oh.
You're going to fill out that chart, right? And don't forget to fill it out when you return the pass. I would put the pass over my neck so you don't have to hold it because you're obviously using your hands if you're going to the bathroom. I think. And wash your hands when you go to when you're done. There's soap at the sinks. I say that like it's a joke, but when I was in med school, there were a bunch. This is sixth period. There was a bunch of doctors. We were at meetings. I'd be at meetings. I was in medical school for a couple of years at Case Western Reserve, and a bunch of doctors. These are medical doctors. We're in a bath. I was in the bathroom washing my hands, and they went to the bathroom, didn't wash their hands, and I was just like, "You forgetting something?" And they looked at me and said, "I didn't pee on my hands," and walked out. I was like, "I'm never going to Hanford as a physician." Bottom line is, wash your hands. It's a good habit to get into. You won't get yourself, you'll reduce your own sickness as well as others. So those are some norms that, paying attention, but that's not the only norms, right? And most norms are going to be negotiated. Like even our tardy policy is a norm, right? Well, what do we have built into the tardy policy? Who remembers what's on this list? What's built into the tardy policy? Is it? Think about it. What's built into the tardy policy? What is your name? I can't help me out. Help me. What's your name? Huh? Jarmaine, not Jermaine. Jermaine Jackson. One of the Jackson. He's pretty good. You know? Jarmaine. So Jarmaine, what's something that's built that's built into the tardy policy? That parent notifications for consequence, like when you're not doing when you're breaking a norm, any one of these norms you're breaking consistently and you're not being cooperative and you're not responding to any of my attempts to try to get you to follow the norm, then yeah, I'll be calling your parents at some point, right? It's just to try to get you to follow the norms that we all agreed we were going to follow. That's all. But the tardy policy has something built into it. It's 10% if it's missing here, 20% there, 30% there, 0 if you don't make those three, then what? Is that it? We're done? That's all? Did you guys read it? You have it right in front of you. What is it? What happens if you end up with a bad grade? Negotiate. That's right. We have a negotiation clause in your own tardy policy, so that even turning work in is negotiable. We can talk about it. Okay? Yes? When are we going to talk about it? During office hours. What are my office hours? Thursday and Friday morning. Are we good? All right, so I'm going to split you up into groups, and you're going to work on this. If I don't see you working, you have a 0.
I could not find it, but I got
Staple. Put a little note on it so you can find it, staple them together. Thank you. Is that all that's left?
Yep. And then there's bio.
AP Bio still? Yeah, thank you. So we are out of here. I'm looking. Oh, we only got 10 minutes. It's not enough time. And we'll spend too much time describing that. I didn't take into account you leaving for lunch. Oh, so what do we do for 10 minutes? It seems like a... All right, so take out a sheet of paper. You have to turn it in, so yeah, definitely. I should not have to hear you ask that question again after this week. Why? What should you have? Come on, that's right. Good, good. Another good reason to have loose leaf in a binder, right? All right. I want you for 10 minutes to write down your understanding of the classroom norms, everything you can think of. And I want you to have a whole paragraph on any suggestions you have for norms that would help you feel either more comfortable or help you learn better. Okay? Does that make sense? Yeah. And if you don't have a say, I'm okay with everything the way it is, this is great. The norms. What are the rules, the norms? What are my expectations? What are your expectations? What do you think is normal for this classroom thus far? I want you to write it. Make sure you have your name at the top. The period is 6th period. And the date is August 11th. And I want you to fill that out. And that's going to be worth 100 points. So do a really good job on it. And you got like 8 minutes to do it. As much as you can think about. You can use your notebooks if you want. Use your syllabus. But you can't talk to each other. And we'll be done with this at 1:28. Hey Siri, start an alarm. Hey, now you don't listen to me. Hey Siri, start an alarm for 9. Hello.
For what time?
Oh my God. 1:28 p.m.
Done.
Why did you listen? Why isn't my watch listen? Guys, all 3 of you need to communicate. So what's left? All these are done. Did you put them in a folder? Put them in the file cabinet? They're in there. They're hanging folders. No, they're in that drawer. They're hanging. All right. These are the ones. Thank you. Look how much work you've saved me. God bless you. No, I just gotta grade the quizzes and so we already got your safety syllabus contracts in the grade book. I just have to finish this bit, and then I'll grade your essays tonight or this weekend and put those in the grade book. And when we start on Monday, you'll get your books. You'll see your first grade when you look at Schoology. As of now, remember grades change throughout the whole quarter, so don't panic. So write down everything you know about whatever norms you think are important to you. The norms that we discussed: tardy policy, pass policy. What do we do when it's time to go to the office? What's the cell phone use policy? Anything you could think of. We talked about all this for a week now, right? So, and it's in your notes supposedly, and it's in your syllabus for sure. Write down everything you know about the norms, and then at least a paragraph before, especially the paragraph's important to me. How can we make anything better? This is your chance to communicate to me how we make things better. Right? So what are your suggestions? I'll listen to anything, but I'm not going to promise that we're going to do any of your suggestions because I consider how it impacts everyone else.